Good evening and welcome to the TLC Unleashed Show, Hollywood Vibes, Sports and Life with your host, Traci Lynn. Thank you so much for your patience this evening. And Jen is here. We have the beautiful and gorgeous and talented Jen Bricker on the show today, so welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to be here.
How exciting. I've been so excited for you to be here. You know, your story is phenomenal. It was funny. I was talking to my friend and cameraman, Dan Kennedy, earlier. And, you know, it feels like I've known you for so long. You know, we met once on a very short, period at the LA Fit Expo.
Yes.
But I've been watching, you know, all of your tapes and your videos and just everything that you do. And I watched your live performance with Papa Roach.
Oh, thanks.
Oh my gosh, the hair flick. I mean, girl.
Oh, girl, it's a performance in itself.
How did she get that hair flick to be like that good? That's all I want to know. Oh my goodness. You've had such a phenomenal story, and I want to really just, you know, showcase your life and where you've come from and where you are today. Unfortunately, we have a little bit less time today, but we're going to get it all in, I'm sure.
Sorry,
No,
so much traffic,
LA
totally my
traffic.
fault.
LA traffic gets everybody.
And I hate that because that's like a pet peeve of mine. I'm like, oh my gosh, don't say it's because of traffic. You know it's traffic. You live in LA. But then it happened to me today. It's like the once a year it happens to me. So there you go.
But the thing is like I say, everything happens exactly the way it's supposed to.
Yes.
And just about timing in life and just talking about your story. I mean, so you were born with no legs.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. And so you were left at the hospital by your parents.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to let you finish the story for me.
Okay, I can shorten it for you, I guess. So, yeah, I was born without legs, left in the hospital, put up for adoption, lived in a foster home for the first 3 months of my life with incredible people, really. And then my parents, I guess who they ended up becoming my parents, my mom had always wanted a baby girl. She always wanted 4 kids. She always felt like she was going to have and was meant to have 4 kids. And heard about a baby girl born one day without legs and just wanted to adopt me and thought that was meant to be, and that was it. They got me in record time and raised me just like totally normal. Yeah. And I had 3 older brothers. Yeah. So, you know, I was just like playing in the dirt and hanging out, and everything was as normal as it could be. You know, there was no like absolutely zero understanding or identity of me being like, oh, I don't have legs, so I'm like disabled or handicapped or whatever. There wasn't that by anyone in my life. So I didn't feel that way.
And I loved it. And I watched some of your interviews and talking about your brothers. Okay, so your parents, your adopted parents, I mean, absolute angels. Amazing people. Yeah. The thing that I really loved is you talked about how they talked to your brothers individually and asked them, how would it be if we brought home a baby girl and this is the scenario, this is the case, and this is what it's going to be like. How do you think this will be? And you said all 3 of them reacted exactly the same, and they said, you know what, if they don't accept her, then I don't want those people in my life.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, that's incredible,
wow.
Right?
Do you think that's a small town mentality? Because, I mean, you never hear of this, and especially young boys. I mean, you know, all of a sudden they're bringing attention's coming away from you, and you know, as a young boy, and all of a sudden now there's this new little girl in there, and she's going to be taking mom and dad's attention away, and they accepted you completely and wholeheartedly. What a beautiful blessing.
Yeah, it's a huge blessing. I mean, I think it's just I was supposed to be with them.
Yes.
You know, that was the family I was meant to be with.
Absolutely, and you said that in, you know, before as well, and we both have God in our lives, and I love that you shared that. It's all about God's plan, and you were never a victim. It was never looked at as a disability, and either did your adopted parents or your brothers.
Yep, or my school, or my friends, my coaches, my teachers. So the whole community. Yeah.
Everybody just like rallied together and just brought you up and lifted you up.
Yes.
Did you, I mean, so you never ever looked at it as a disability?
The way I identified myself as a kid was like, I was strong, I was an athlete, and I was always very talkative in class, like too talkative, right? and involved in people's stuff. So, and that's how people viewed me. So that was my identity. I was like, well, I'm strong. I'm the strong one. Like, I'm kind of the, you know, the scruffy, strong one, but also like I love pink, and you know, so I was like feminine but like strong, and an athlete, you know. So it's been amazing. Like I've been speaking now all around the world for, I don't know, 7-8 years, and then performing as an acrobat and aerialist for 10 years. And my book came out a little over a year ago.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Where do we get that book?
So the book you can get on Amazon. You can get it in bookstores. Probably, if you want it fast, obviously Amazon.
Yeah.
Everything is Possible is the name, and we're already in 9 languages and counting.
Wow.
Yes.
Amazing.
And New York Times bestseller as well. But
of course it is. Of course it is.
Totally God, trust me. It's totally.
You know, I'm a type of person that's always going to ask the other questions that other people don't ask. Everything's great, and you're so motivated. You're such a, you know, inspiration to so many people. Let's talk a little bit about those days that are a little bit darker. Those days where you have to get into your head and wrap around all of this, and what has my life become? Who am I? All these things. How did you get out of those situations so that you could really fulfill this dream that you're living?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that we kind of have to battle with a lot. We're never going to have a time where we have arrived and then everything's going to be great. You know, and I really went down a path that was just this downward spiral of trying to be skinny, you know, and really just, I mean, I went there. That discipline and that hard work, that can work against me, and it did. And so I just got caught up in this whole, I want to be thin, and I want to keep being thin, and then I got thin, and then I got too thin, and then it was like, how do I get out of this to be okay with looking healthy? Like having a little bit of shape, God forbid. It's like everybody wants shape, and yet here I was trying to get rid of it and get rid of my muscle. I mean, it sounds insane.
I understand completely.
Yeah. So, but coming out of that was one of the hardest times of my life, and it was totally God, totally my faith. You know, I had to cover up mirrors in my apartment. I had to just choose every single day that it wasn't, that I was going to feel beautiful, even though I didn't feel beautiful.
I understand.
Yeah.
Was it, did you consider that an eating disorder and in type of body dysmorphia? Total
body dysmorphia.
Okay.
I didn't want to say that for the longest time because it made it sound really serious, and I was like, oh no, like, because I've always had such a strong mind. Like, I was never bothered by peer pressure. So I thought, and when I realized that I fell victim to this, that was a huge wake-up call to what and I hate to say it, but it's true, what our media and what the newspapers and the things we see does to our minds. Yeah,
absolutely. And, you know, I think about it, talking about this, I mean, think about, you know, you were born with no legs, and now we get into a situation where we would think that would be the biggest thing on life, and then now we're getting into what society tells us, you know, we should be skinny, we should be thin, we should look like this, we should look like a Victoria's Secret model, we need to do all these things. And you're overcoming, you know, triumphing through body dysmorphia. And for those of you that do not know, it's also something that I struggled through and suffered with my whole life. You know, it never really leaves you. Body dysmorphia is when you see something in the mirror and you see something on yourself that others do not see. It's actually, it's fear, false evidence appearing real. You see something that's not real. You look in the mirror and you look larger than you are, you look different than you are, and you pick apart every little flaw on your body that nobody else probably even sees.
Absolutely.
And it's probably, and half of them aren't even there. And that's a really hard thing to overcome.
Very, very, very hard.
How did you get through that?
It was, well, so it was taking the actual steps of doing something physical, because I was tearing myself apart in the mirror. If my stomach wasn't basically sunken in backward, not just only flat, but, you know, to that next level. So I covered up my mirror, and actually it turned out to be such a beautiful thing. It was, I had made a collage. I used whatever I had in my room, like, okay, I'm covering this no matter what, and I'm going to do it for 30 days, like, to start out. And I realized after I covered it, I had covered it with all of these beautiful things. Pictures that my mom had taken on a road trip, flowers that I loved, gymnast pictures, all these things. And before I knew it, my mirror was covered in this beautiful collage. And instead of hate and stress coming back out of me from that mirror, it was like love and beauty.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, powerful.
Wow. For you to be able to come through that on your own, and see that beauty, because what it really is learning how to love ourselves.
Yes.
Unconditionally. You know, we expect it from other people, and that's the interesting part of life, is that we expect it from other people, but yet some of us don't have it ourselves. And
right.
That's a really hard thing.
And you have to deal, like, I didn't want to have kids while I was dealing with that. Like, I knew, like, I couldn't have a little girl or a little, you know, seeing their mom do that to themselves. And I was just like, because that's going to give them the complex. And so I was like, and I also didn't want to enter a marriage that way, because, you know, that's like, you can't fully love someone else until you can really, really fully love yourself.
That's right.
You know, and I also realized that the main thing is it was taking me away from where God was calling me to be. If I'm focused on how I look at this angle and how I look in this, I can't be fully present to be used to help other people, which is my whole purpose here.
Absolutely. And you've said that, you know, a few times, and that's what I love, because you've taken what God created you to be, and for all it is, and you said, you know what, I'm going to use this, and I'm going to inspire people and show people that, and as your adoptive parents said, and you always said in your family, I can't is not an option in your family.
Yep.
And I love that, because so many families, you know, would have different views and thoughts and ideology of it, and it's like, you know, if you didn't have that, you wouldn't be here today.
Yes.
And that's teaching people, and I'm glad that you're a speaker, because you're teaching people, you know what, get out there, and try is not a word. These are not words in my vocabulary. Try, I can't, I'll think about it, things like that.
Impossible.
and you're living that, and you're absolute proof of that. I want to go back a little bit and touch upon your biological parents. So, I mean, I can't even imagine. I don't know what you've been through to emotionally deal with what you've gone through, being left at the hospital by your biological parents. How did you get through that emotional part of, you know, that abandonment feeling?
Well, it's interesting. It's not kind of what I think people usually expect. So my parents, when I was adopted, my whole life I remember them being very open and honest about, like, I always knew I was adopted, and I knew that my biological family was from Romania, and my parents said, and they most likely gave you up because you didn't have legs. You know, they're like, that's just, especially the culture was so different. They were raised in communism. There's just a totally different mentality. And they're like, but don't hate them, because you weren't in your shoes. You weren't in their shoes. You don't know why. You don't know what was going on. And bottom line, you were our answered prayer. I really was. You know, and I was their miracle. So it was like they leveled with me from the beginning. They said, the why does not matter. Don't hate them, and know that this is exactly how God planned it. Like, this was meant to be. And so they said that, so that sets the tone. And then I just knew it. Like, growing up, as I got older, I saw that was just true. I knew I was supposed to be there. And then when I found out about my biological family, that made it even more clear that, you know, and at that point, I mean, I already knew that was how it was supposed to be. So I think because they addressed it so early, it gave me freedom to not have a chip on my shoulder about that, and to not hate.
Yes, and be held hostage to that, because if I mean, your life would be so different if you did.
Totally.
And that's the thing. So, have you been in contact? Like, are your biological parents still alive?
So my biological father is not alive, but my biological mother is, and I met her and my two biological sisters. I met my sisters in 2008, so 10 years this May, it will be. And then my biological mother, I met her in January 2010.
Okay. And do you have a relationship with her today? I
do. You know, it's different than my sisters and I. It's been taking a lot longer. But I have to say, it is progressing, which is really cool.
Good.
Like, we're actually a lot alike, which is really funny, you know? And so she's really cool.
That's amazing. And have you ever had that conversation of that day, what was going on for your mom at the time? Yeah,
I wanted to be very, kind of ease my way into that. You know, I didn't want to push too much, because I figured it would be hard for her. And it turns out it was far harder than I expected. So So I was really glad I went in like kind of soft.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't need it, thankfully, but I did ask, you know, a couple questions, and it was, I mean, what I thought, but then there was also, it wasn't her choice. Like, that was the sad part for her, was that, I mean, sad is the devastating part for her. She didn't get to hold me. She didn't, it wasn't her choice. And then she was forced to keep it a secret for over 20 years. So that, I can't imagine what that does to someone. And hence why it's taken a little longer with her, because there's just so much that, you know, she's got going on in her heart.
Of course.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind me asking, was it because of your father's decision?
It was. You know, it was. So most of her marriage, so it was an arranged marriage, first of all, in Romania, which, you know, that's hard for us to fathom in this country. I think even in that country it's still kind of uncommon right now. But so it was an arranged marriage, and then it was an abusive marriage. And now the great part in that story is that before he died, he made amends with everybody. He was a totally different person. And he was excited to meet me, which, I don't know, I just think it's really cool. And the more I learned about him, because he changed as he got older for the better, thank God, I actually think we would have got along, as odd as that sounds. And, you know, I just think so. So, yeah.
You have such a great heart, and you have such a great mindset to be mindful and be thoughtful and compassionate as to how your biological parents would feel is a true gift, because not a lot of people can be that strong and brave to feel like that. So I commend you on that.
Oh, well, thank you.
It's a strong, very strong trait.
It's definitely, you know, the love of God, just realizing that, you know, none of us are perfect. Yeah. Honestly. Yeah. We've all made the wrong choice. Yeah. More than once, more than twice, more than 3 times. It's going to continue happening. You know, we can't be perfect. And it's like, as frustrated and as mad as you can get at somebody, it's like you have probably been the other person in that situation. Yeah. And it's hard. It is hard to kind of. Yeah. But I think love is really, well, that's what God's all about, right? Yeah. And so when we can try and really have compassion and empathy, that's a game changer. Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And coming at situations and thinking about it from a loving standpoint. Because, you know, as I always say, we can't live in love and fear at the same time. So if we're living in love, we're able to give love and receive love. If we're living in fear, we're not able to receive or to give. Yeah. So there's so many blessings with that. That's such a great attitude. And, you know, I was said too growing up, you know, my childhood wasn't the best. And I just said, you know what, they did the best they could with what they had. And, you know, hurt people hurt people. Yes. And, you know, and it just goes kind of like all the way down and kind of all the way up. So, you know, it's just one of those things. Well, you have such a phenomenal story. You know, it gets better. So it gets better. You are this athlete. You're this phenomenal, strong-willed little girl that's like, no matter what, I'm doing this. You want to be a gymnast? You are a gymnast. You want to be an aerialist? You are an aerialist. You've toured with Britney Spears. You've been in some of the most prestigious hotels there is in Las Vegas. You've also, I just saw, if you guys didn't see it on my Facebook, Papa Roach video. Are you kidding me? We were talking about that. I was trying to do that hair flick in the mirror before I got here, and it wasn't happening. I would love for you to teach me how to do that. The silks and the aerial work, phenomenal. Thank you so much. The song is called "Born for Greatness." Okay, and it's just like one of the hooks is like, we're not nameless, we're not faceless, we were born for greatness. And it's just like, that was made for you. What? I just got goosebumps again. Oh, and it's amazing. You're a martial artist. It's showing, you know, us, like it showed me as a secretary, right? In this 9 to 5, hate my job, hate my boss, hate my life. And, you know, I clear the desk and I've had it, I'm done with it. And then it shows me later, you know, just in the air with way above the crowd, rocking out, being an aerialist, doing what I love, and I've totally transformed, you know. And so it's I really want people to realize too that even before this video, it's like I try to, you know, instill in people that we all have, you know, that power within us to touch someone's life, to change somebody's life with our gifts, what we were given, you know, and we don't have to just settle for a job we hate or a life that we hate. We're not meant for that. We really were born for greatness, not to just quote a song, but I really believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Truly, and you are living that, inspiring so many people. When you think about it, I mean, what I thought, and not even just the magic and the beauty of that video, and you spinning, and the art, and how, you know, phenomenal you are at that. What I was thinking is, I wonder how many people in the entire world are being inspired and motivated by this woman right now. And that's exactly what I thought. And I just watched you twirl and spin, and your energy and your passion, and just it oozed out of you. And I just thought, wow, she is changing the world. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's why I do any project I do. That's the goal. You know, it really is.
I see it.
Thank you.
You got to meet your sisters. You are a lover of the gymnastics. You're watching this sport on, you're a gymnastic, you're, you know, a champion yourself. And you're watching this, and you're watching this woman on TV, and you'll share her name with us.
Yes, Dominique Moceanu.
Okay, so, and you actually said in a few of your videos one time, could you imagine if that was my sister?
Yes, yes, I did. I said that to my parents as a kid. Because we looked alike, and she was Romanian, and I was Romanian, and, you know, growing up, I was always in the sun, so I was very brown. I turned brown in the sun, and I had thick black hair and big eyes, and so no one looked like me. And I always knew I was Romanian, so I was always, like, so proud of that, you know? And so here this girl is on TV. She's also doing a sport that I love, that I was competing in, you know, just very beginner at that level. And oh, we looked alike. Oh my gosh, and she's Romanian, right? And she's tiny, and I'm tiny. So as like an 8-year-old, you're just, that's what you have, right, to connect and to bond with somebody. And right before I turned 16, I had talked to my mom, and long story short, I found out that Dominique was my full-blooded biological sister.
Well, your parents, they were watching her compete at the Olympics, was it?
The 96 Olympics.
And they looked up and saw on the screen the names of your biological parents, correct?
Yes, so they pan and they see Dimitri and Camelia Moceanu, and my mom just thought, man, that sounds so familiar.
They remember seeing the names on the adoption papers.
Yes. Yeah, my mom kind of goes and gets the adoption papers from years ago and is like doing the math, like, what? No way.
Wow.
You know?
But she didn't come to you with it. She waited till you approached her, and that was just before the 16th birthday.
Yes.
And then she was very honest with you.
Yes.
And then you went from there, and you put a nice little package together of the adoption papers, some pictures, and you got everything prepared and nice.
I did.
When your sister received that package, I watched her, you know, her video on the interview, and she was just like, this is my sister. There's no way.
Yeah. I wanted there to be no denying and like all the proof. Like, listen, I'm not crazy. You know, but I mean, and we all there's 3 of us. My younger sister Christina, my older sister Dominique, and we just look so much alike.
Yeah,
you know,
your younger sister too, Christina, right?
Christina, we look very much alike.
You guys look like twins.
Yes,
almost.
we do.
Yes. Okay, so tell me your first time meeting. So you both know now that it's out there, you guys are sisters, and this is going to happen. So where did you guys meet for the first time, and how was it? Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I was living in Orlando at the time, and Dominique lives in Ohio, and Christina lives in Texas. So Christina and I flew to Dominique in Ohio, and that's where we met. We stayed at her house. And so I just, fly to meet these strangers that are my sisters and stay with them and share a bed with Christina and like, you know what I mean? And but it was I landed first, and I met Dominique just kind of one-on-one, and it was just surreal and crazy, and then immediately just kind of natural. So I mean, none of that makes any sense because that's all kind of the opposite of each other. But yeah, no, it was just surreal and natural. And then Christina's flight kept getting delayed, so she came in later, and then it was like I was talking to myself, like someone with my face. It like blew my mind. Yeah, it was crazy. So, and then, we just we've been trying. They both are married and have kids.
Yes.
And I travel around the world, speaking and performing and doing book stuff. So we all have kind of busy lives and stuff, but we try to see each other as much as we can and stay in touch and all of that.
And that bond is still there.
The bond, yeah. Well, it gets stronger because there's such a learning curve for me, especially because I was like the one coming into a new family that operated totally different than my family growing up. So it was really interesting trying to figure out how I fit into this new family. Where do I fit? How do I fit? What's my role? Or, you know what I mean? Like, so it's taken a lot of years. I mean, that's been almost 10 years now, but it's taken, because we don't live in the same area, it's just taken a little bit longer.
Yeah, and you grew up where it was so small. I mean, how many people were?
Yeah, like, I don't know, nobody in my little town that I grew up in. Then school, the bigger town was 1,600. And then the really big town was like 7,000, so it's just ridiculous.
I heard it was like 50 in like the little town that you were in.
Yeah, it really is like that.
That is amazing. Okay, tell me about your adoptive parents. And so let's talk about the relationship with them and where it is and what's it like today.
Yeah, so they're just salt of the earth. They're so normal. They're so down to earth. They're just chill. They're never gonna put on any airs for anybody, and they come as much as they can to any event that I have. I usually every year have some events, some gigs, or around the Midwest somewhere. So if it's like even remotely close to where they are, they'll come. They say they're my oldest groupies, which is funny.
I love it.
They kind of are. They're so funny. And or they'll maybe fly out here if there's like a really special thing going on.
Okay.
But usually, I mean, because my whole family, like all my brothers, nieces, nephews, mom and dad, they're all in the same place.
Okay.
So it just makes sense for me to go because I'm one person versus all of them. So, yeah, that is, I definitely go home for Christmas. Go home usually 2 to 3 times a year, if not, just depending on when I have gigs close to home. And they're great. I mean, they're so supportive, so excited for me, always, and they just always believed in me, even when I was younger and I didn't really believe in myself that much sometimes, like when I was really hard on myself, being like a perfectionist.
Yes,
Yeah.
I can relate.
Yeah.
So I loved one of the stories too where you were like, I want to roller skate.
Yeah.
And coming from the family environment that you guys had, that no, I can't attitude, they were like, okay, we'll put roller skates on your hands. Did you actually roller skate?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I grew up in the middle of nowhere, as we've established, and I wanted to win the limbo. Like, that was my thing. I saw everybody doing the limbo, and so I was like, okay, I will master this. So, I mean, that just shows you where my mind was. I was like, did not bat an eye, didn't think it was weird, it was not normal, it was amazing, none of it. I was just like, well, I want to go roller skating, put it on my hands, it just makes sense, it's efficient, why not, And then I won the limbo every single time with the skates on my hands.
I love it.
And I think the amazing thing to that, now that I'm older, is that would have been, my parents would have had every reason to have said, well, I mean, isn't that a little dangerous? How are you going to do that? I mean, you're really small, what if, because I was only like 8, and I'm a very small person anyway, so, and they didn't, because those reactions would have been discouragement and negativity. That's exactly, especially as a kid, that's how you're going to take that. And didn't skip a beat. There's like, okay, well, we're going to put the skates on your hands, and that taught me without me realizing, I think without even them realizing, because it's just who they are, that really, well, the creativity. So like, okay, in softball, I had no strike zone. It was amazing, right? And in volleyball, I wasn't going to be on the net. I'm not tall, right? So I was good in the back because I was fast and I was
saw you. I was like, you're...
So it wasn't, no, you can't do it. It was, well, let's just tweak it so that you can do it.
I love that.
And that was it, And that's a great skill for every one of us that can translate through to our adult life. Because everyone's going to have something,
it's true.
Probably multiple somethings, that you're going to have to get a little creative.
So true, so true. So I want to talk a little bit about your older sister, Dominique. And so Olympic gold medalist, and very talented. And she talks about, you know, the pressure of her coach as well as your father growing up. Was there ever a time after hearing those stories where, you know, you guys ever talked about maybe switching roles, like, you know, I wish that I had your life, or did you ever wish that you had her life before you knew of the trials and tribulations she went through?
Before I knew she was my sister?
Yes.
That's a good question. I can't remember thinking that, but it probably wouldn't be a far stretch to think if you're a kid, right? Like if you admire somebody, you think, oh man, that must be so cool. I don't remember thinking, oh, I would love to be in her shoes, but I certainly would have had no idea what was actually going on until I met her.
Exactly. And that's a really critical thing about life. So you take your situation, you take your older sister's situation, and you think, gold medalist, she's got the world, she's got everything, she's, you know, done it all, and we see it from our set of eyes. And so we don't really see what's going on behind closed doors. So we don't see, you know, the abuse or whatever was happening with the coach and things like that. And so, you know, sometimes we wish that we were in somebody else's position in life. And so it just goes to show, because, you know, when I look at your upbringing, you know, it's magical. It's absolutely magical. And what a blessing. And it's created you. I think you would be like that no matter what, because you're just that, you're God's child, but you're just this vessel of peace and love and blessings. But I just think when I'm looking at your adoptive parents and what phenomenal people they were, I just, you know, I couldn't see your life not being successful.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. You know, it was, I see now as I've gotten older that I was placed there kind of like a protection, because some people I think have the hard part of their life come when they're a kid, and some people I think have it maybe when they're older. I've certainly had it when I've gotten older. But that was the point, I think, of why I was where I was. Because I needed all that love, all that self-esteem, that backbone, all of that confidence, everything. Because to be who God has called me to be and to go where He's called me to go. Because I'm all over the world. I've been in 17 countries so far. I've been in the Middle East significant amounts of times, all over Asia, you know, places where people like me literally, they don't go out in public. I mean, that's the reality, right? In a lot of countries right now in 2018, which is crazy for us to believe, right? So, but yet I have, when I went, because I was called, I had this beautiful favor and love from these people. Now, that doesn't mean that my life has always been easy. Trust me. People in a lot of foreign countries look at me and they have the craziest thoughts. To us, it would sound crazy and very condescending and very rude. But they don't know any better. They think, oh, well, she can't have a job. She can't have a normal life. Poor her. They have no idea. But that's where my patience is totally tested. You know, like I have to stop myself and stop my attitude from being like, really? And then be like, okay, Jen, take a step back, because that is just showing you where they're at. It's showing you what they know, and that's actually sad.
Yes, it is sad.
It's sad, and I have to be the example. Right then and there, when I want to have an attitude, is when that's the teaching moment. I'm like, really? Like, do I have to just have a good attitude right now? Because I really don't want to.
Those lessons are tough.
Oh, so I'm getting lessons at the same time the other person. We're all getting lessons.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And that's been a very, I would say that's one of the biggest struggles that I have dealt with as an adult. Hence why the childhood was so important. Because now I go all over the world in every circumstance that is never modified for someone, like, ever. I mean, please. I was on the Great Wall of China, you know what I mean? And I'm going around and I just ditched the wheelchair, of course, and I'm just, you know, walking using my hands like I do, and for like 3 hours, you know what I mean? Up and down the stairs and doing all these crazy things, and but I don't know. Knowing that the world has never been made to like accommodate for me, and that it never really will be fully in my lifetime. It has made me, it sounds so cheesy, but it has really made me a stronger person.
Of course.
And not only stronger, but it's made me flexible, like internally, adaptable and resourceful. And those are, I mean, if we're on a stranded island, that's the kind of thing you want.
Yes.
But even aside from a stranded island situation, in real life, to be able to be adaptable has been, well, for me, very helpful because I travel all the time into all kinds of crazy foreign, places.
Yeah.
So, but then I've seen how, because I wasn't always this flexible. I really liked things the way, and I was like, I'm glad I'm not that person anymore. I'm glad I'm not so, like, uptight
rigid
and
uptight.
rigid.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not fun.
Yes, I've been there before in life, and it's just like everything's too orderly and structured, and you can't be bendable in life, and you have to make a change.
Yes. And
otherwise life will change you.
Life changed me, so that's, but I'm thankful for it. And it is really hard sometimes, like, being in any situation, it could even be in our country, and people just say things, and it's not, like, almost never do they mean to be disrespectful. That's the thing. It's like, okay, so I have to realize that what you just said was extremely condescending and very, arrogant to me, but I know your intention was not that. Yes. So, and that's on me.
You got to get that thick skin and realize that people don't know what they don't know. And naivety is everywhere in this world. And, I want to touch a little bit about bullying. Has that ever been something that you've had to deal with? And how do people react to you? I mean, we know that small children, react a lot differently than adults.
Yes.
But have you been ever in a situation of being bullied or a situation that was profound to you, that was hurtful?
Well, thankfully, I wasn't bullied as a kid. Good. So that was something, thankfully, again, I see it as very purposeful. But, I've had a lot of interesting things happen as an adult, with travel, with just life. I mean, even, in the beginning of my career as an acrobat and aerialist, which was 10 years ago, nobody wanted to hire me. I mean, everybody was afraid of how an audience would react because no one without legs had ever been an acrobat or an aerialist. So everyone's freaking out, right? So that right there, my old partner that I performed with, he and I, that I started my whole career out with, his friends basically had like an intervention with him, sat him down and told him he was throwing his career away by being my partner.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he still went with you?
He did. We were together for 4 years. We were on the Britney Spears tour together. Yeah. Yeah, and they